Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. I hope you're gearing up for a big New Year's. Shorty certainly is, but right now I am preparing myself for that New Year by getting a COVID test. If you watched the Hawthorn video, well, I was about 45 minutes that way, but it's actually moved along okay. Obviously being in Geelong, you know, there's probably not as many testing sites, I'm guessing, as to some, but I'm down at Torquay, thought I'd try and go a little off-centre, and it seems to be working. It seems to be not as long as some of these others that I've heard about, but nonetheless, I thought it's a good opportunity to you know, do a few videos. Shorty's going to Brisbane. In fact, I'm probably there right now. You're probably watching this while I've just caught the plane, so that'll be exciting. But obviously, you need a little test to jump on board the plane, so that's why we are here. Now, I'm going to take a look at the Ds today, and I'll tell you what, like I was saying in the title, there's not much to sort of diss the Ds about. It's hard to not like everything they're doing. I was looking through the list in terms of like even a breakout, even a risk, even a no chance for my side. I could barely find any. It's genuinely as hard as I've sort of found. So if you've got a couple of guys that could break out for the Ds, because it just seems like it's going to be tough to get a spot. You know, obviously it always seems that way for the Premier, but I have one guy in mind. But in terms of, is there a risky sort of option? Is there someone that you think's no chance for your team, even though they might have had a good year last year and they're going to drop off a bit? I don't know. Feel free to comment below. And, you know, if you've been enjoying these club-by-club previews, I'd love you to give a little subscribe to the channel, notification bell, all that funky stuff you got to do. But we're building into another big year as SuperCoach. Like I said, I'll try and schedule a few of these videos that I do today to keep a bit of flow going over the holiday period while I'm away for like a week. But in terms of the Ds, look, the lock, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It was like the nucleus for the Melbourne Premiership: Gawn, Petracca and Oliver. You can lock them all into your side pretty comfortably. Now, if I had to pick one, I'd probably just say Petracca, because I actually think of all those three guys, he actually offers a smidgen of value. I reckon his average of 111. Because remember last year, he actually started a touch slow, just couldn't quite find his best footy. Really worked into it nicely in the second half of the year. There was a 170 in there, some other big scores as well. But look, I think he's definitely capable of going around that 115 to 120 mark. He did it the year prior, and we saw what he did in the finals. He's just a match winner, isn't he? Just insane scores in the prelim and, of course, the granny. So he was dominant, but Gawn and Oliver equally going to be great selections. Now, the breakout, I said it was tricky, and it's tricky for the rest of this video, to be fair, but I've gone Luke Jackson. Now, of course, Max Gawn is there, and he is flying, so it's hard to say that Jackson could absolutely explode, but average is 71. We saw the grand final he put together. It's one day this guy's going to be a premium ruck, and we're going to select him all the time. I think he's going to be someone who can find a fair bit of the ball. He's one of those mobile, athletic ruck types. So I think he's such an exciting prospect. To go with him this year would be madness. You know, while Gawn is there and while he's fit, it's not going to happen. But, you know, maybe you're out there and you're saying, Shorty, this bloke is definitely a chance to go big. You know, I think I've seen some sites sort of say Bowie could be a guy that's a likely type, you know, youngster. But I don't know. I didn't really feel like it had as much SuperCoach relevance, but here I am saying that Luke Jackson's got none. So what am I talking about, really? But I think Jackson's just such an exciting prospect, and I really just wanted to put him out there. Not really for this year. I think we'll see a rise in his numbers, but I tell you what, you know, cross the fingers we don't want it to happen. But if Gawn were to go down with a long-term injury at any point this pre-season, Luke Jackson is going to give us something to think about, because if he's the main guy, oh, it could be very, very interesting. Now, in terms of the risk, couldn't find anyone. I think the biggest risk at Melbourne is that some of the guys that I've mentioned about being really good options just get marginally complacent. Maybe a few too many beers, maybe a few too many darts Maxi Gawn over the pre-season. I'm not too sure. But I think that's the only risk, because there is so much to like about the Ds. And there always is when you're the Premier. There always is. But there's also always that small chance that you come back feeling a bit good about yourself, and the hunger isn't what it once was. It's still there. You want to go back to back, who doesn't? But it's not as desperate as some of the other clubs, and you just drop off 2 to 3%, you know. And in a SuperCoach sense, all right, you average 125, that just falls back to 116. There's nothing that bad with a 116, but it might be Petracca, you know, for example. That 111, I'm thinking maybe he can go back up. But I know he's pretty happy with himself, bit content, still has a good year, but it's just 106. You know, that's all I'm talking about. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're a young side, still rising. Some of these guys are, you know, still working into, we talk about windows, they're sort of in the early stages of their best footy. So I don't really see it happening, but it does occasionally happen. So I think that's the biggest risk at Melbourne, that maybe there's just a smidgen of complacency, but we'll have to wait and see. And I couldn't find anyone that's no chance for my side, as I continue to give you next to nothing on this video. But yeah, I went through, I had a look, there was no one that I said that I thought was relevant, but also a bit risky and therefore weren't going to be in my team. I couldn't tell you. So like I said, I've looked through some premiership teams, you know, other years, and there's always names, but this time around I was like, gee, there's a lot to like about Melbourne, which is a scary proposition, but I was finding it difficult to pick holes in them. So if you've got any thoughts on Melbourne and what they could produce this year, I'd love to hear it. Any sort of gems that maybe we haven't uncovered yet, but I tell you what, a fair few came out last year, so we'll be hoping a few premiums down at Demonland can do it all again. But I'll be back. I'll be doing another video soon as we slowly work our way through this line, but I'll chat to you soon. Cheers.